Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of SNEED-CAST. I'm your host, Alexa, and today we're here with Julie Suggs, who happens to be the academic director of the packaging school. She also has her PhD in food science and technology. So, hello, Julie. Thank you so much for joining us on SNEED-CAST.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me. It's exciting to be here on this Friday.
Of course. And then before we jump into any of our questions, just getting a little bit of background on you because you've been in the industry now for over a decade.
Yeah, just about for sure. Wow. It's 2025, so about 11 years in the industry. Yeah.
And you started first as a research analyst back in 2014, and then you moved into your associate research director position for Packaging Insight LLC, and you're also a contributing editor for PMMI. And now you're the academic director at the packaging school. So how does it feel like to have transitioned from obviously like 2014 till now?
Yeah, so Alexa, my pathway to packaging, hasn't been super linear. It's been kind of all over the place. I started as a chemistry major at a small liberal arts school in very middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. I have a twin sister. We went there together, and I just decided to do chemistry because she was doing chemistry. Kind of was a lost soul for a little while and didn't know what to do. Not that I didn't love chemistry, but it just wasn't my passion by any sense. So then I kind of found packaging and food science, just doing some research for, summer internships, research undergraduate kind of experiences. And I found this one through Cornell Summer Scholars. And, I was like, why not? Let's just apply. And I got it, and they sent me to NC State, where I was in a little bit of a culture shock coming, again from a small town in Pennsylvania to a larger, more exciting town in Raleigh, North Carolina. But I learned so much about myself and how I really love packaging. I got to spend the whole summer with kind of some really awesome researchers building a new project on sweet potato juice and actually packaging it. I did get to taste it, and it was quite terrible. So just so you guys know, it's not a great flavor, but we were working on it. So yeah, through this experience, I figured out that I love packaging, and then I kind of got into that space from there. So yeah, again, I always tell people, like, you don't have to get a packaging science degree to move into packaging. There's a lot of ways you can, find yourself in packaging, and there's a lot of like adjacent industries that can lead you into packaging as well.
Right. Kudos for attempting the whole chemistry route. I know that it was something that I avoided at all costs in college. So I'm right in that boat with you.
Yes,
But
I feel
getting,
you.
how did you now become the director at the packaging school?
Yeah, so kind of moving on from NC State, I wanted to kind of foster that love for packaging and food science. And I was looking into what I wanted to do with my life after college. It was kind of a hard decision to decide to go straight into industry, into something I didn't love, which was chemistry, or go into graduate school and kind of start over. And learn a new subject from scratch. But then I realized it's not, like, packaging is involving all kinds of different disciplines, so it was not starting over. But then I found Dr. Hurley at Clemson. He is a professor in, focused on packaging design and like analytics and biometrics.
Mhm.
And I just said, hey, like, are you accepting graduate students for, summer of August 2014? And, he was. So I ended up talking with him on Skype a couple times, and he was like, okay, let's do it. Let's just, move to Clemson. And let's start in August. And I did that, kind of sight unseen, not seeing Clemson. And I got there. It was, again, quite a culture shock. But that's how I met Dr. Hurley, who is actually one of the founders of the packaging school. So it's all kind of interconnected. I work with him. I got my PhD under him. And then from there, in 2018, right when I was finishing up my dissertation, he asked me to be full time at the packaging school. So it's really been my only job in the packaging space has been at the packaging school. So it's been really exciting to kind of see how we've grown throughout the years and how we continue to kind of evolve with the new advancements in the world today.
Right. And then all of the work that you've put in for your PhD, what would you say has been applicable now that you're the academic director at the packaging school? Or what would you say is applicable to the program itself?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. In my experience at Clemson, was super instrumental in preparing me for my role at the packaging school. Really great professors there, really great curriculum. And, as a PhD student, I had to really understand the technical content. I have a, funny side note going into, um, you know, new courses at Clemson, some of the things I've never really experienced, like packaging distribution, focusing more on polymers, doing some design. I remember getting one of my tests back and I got like a 60% on it. And that's just something I didn't experience that much at my previous university. Just it was just a little bit of a shock because like everything had moved online. We didn't it just was a difference. And I remember like being like, okay, I really have to kick it in gear. And then I just started to realize like you just have to really study. This is a new aspect of, learning. So just to say that, you can have a bad day and it's okay. But basically, as a PhD student, I had to learn tons of different things. Some of the courses were harder than others. And, it really has helped me as the curriculum developer to be that subject matter expert for our team. I don't just build courses, I try to ensure the information is, accurate, relevant, and engaging, especially in today's day and age where AI has seemed to be taking over in a lot of these spaces, and we want to make sure we're keeping up with the times, so to speak. On top of that, at Clemson, I got to manage a ton of different research projects with Dr. Hurley, from start to finish. So that kind of taught me how to coordinate teams and deliver results for our clients. So I use that, every day in my life here at the packaging school. So, basically from content creation to launching, new training programs, that foundation at Clemson has been super, super valuable.
Mhm. And then, out of curiosity, because I feel like so much has changed since I've been out of college, but how would you say that packaging differs when it comes to like the packaging school compared to traditional courses that you would come across?
Yeah, that's a great question, and as far as the packaging school, we like to say like we're a glimpse into the future of accessible, engaging education in packaging design and engineering. We
Mhm.
actually are an exclusive licensee of a professional curriculum developed at Clemson. So again, interconnected with Clemson University, we offer 100% online, affordable certificate programs, tailored specifically to the packaging industry. But what sets us apart, I would say, is kind of our flexibility and focus. You're not confined to semester schedules or classroom walls. We're building more of a global platform that connects learners with, real world packaging knowledge, from all over. It's a funny thing that we actually have a student from every single state in the US but Hawaii. So shout out to anyone listening. If you know anyone in Hawaii, get them to sign up and I'll send you a t-shirt. But kind of along those lines, we actively partner with relevant companies, subject matter experts, and industry associations to kind of create content on a wide range of topics. And the biggest thing I would say, Alexa, is that I like to say that everything you would learn at an undergraduate program, say in packaging at Clemson, RIT, Michigan State, it's
Mhm.
just without all the fluff as far as like all the extra electives, the writing classes, like the packaging school gets right to the meat of what you really need to know. So we
Right.
focus on what professionals actually need to understand and learn to, succeed in this fast evolving field.
And then, what would you say the learning experience is actually like? Would you say that it's more so textbook? Are you getting hands-on? What can a student expect?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it kind of varies based on our programs. But so I'll kind of start with one of our bigger programs that we actually run through Clemson.
Mhm.
I would say the learning experience is highly interactive and project based. So one of the key components is a packaging development plan. It's a real world project that actually helps people in the Certificate of Mastery in Packaging Management program, build out their design of what they think a packaging project can look like. So it starts out as a 27-page template and it often evolves into 80 plus pages to be used as a strategic tool, tailored specifically to that student's, specific company or, a passion project they have in packaging. So in this way, students are able to learn directly and apply what they've learned throughout the courses, whether they're working on a new consumer product, brigade brand, sustainability initiative, or just something creative. Like, we've seen some people make advent calendars for wellness brands. They've made, craft beer subscription plans. So whatever kind of fits their fancy in packaging, we've seen all of those things. So in this vein for the CMPM program for short, I review these projects weekly and I set up office hours for the students to talk through their projects. So I would say it's kind of a hybrid between, online learning. All of our courses are very flexible. You can take them at at your own pace.
Mhm.
But I'm available as, the professor in charge to, talk with people, have office hours, be really, really present for them as they go through this project.
And then what goes into actually designing one of these courses?
Yeah, yeah. So and again, Alexa, that's kind of been evolving, again, trying to stay on top of the times. So,
Right.
designing a course at the packaging school, we try to be super thoughtful and collaborative when we're designing these courses. So, we develop both B2C courses for individual learners and also like custom B2B training programs. For example, like with Colgate or Mondelez, helping them upscale their teams and, helping them to move the needle for their internal training. So, each course kind of starts with in depth discovery, numerous calls, research planning to kind of ensure the content is relevant, impactful, and obviously accurate. So from there, we move to production, pilot testing, refinement. And based on feedback, we're really open to feedback. We like to have an iterative approach where we're not just set in stone if something changes or evolves. In the world shaped by AI, which Alexa, honestly, I'm still trying to understand slash be okay with it. I know that we have to, you know, be very agile in that space, but I do want to make it clear that all of our courses are built by real people that really do exist. So we have a dedicated team behind every single lesson, including curriculum developers, video editors, graphic designers, and production coordinators. Our goal is to create training that's not only technically sound, but like you're really engaging and easy to apply to the real world. So it's been really great over the years. And again, trying to make sure that we can compete with, the quick typing in, like, so what is polymers? And you see, that quick AI thing showing 20 different things. So how can we beat that? How can we make sure that, not only that we're utilizing AI to be faster and more agile in this space, but also to make sure that people know that there are humans behind this work and we're really trying to move the needle that way.
Right. And then talking about staying up with the times, I know something that's popular among newer generations or younger generations is this idea of looking for packaging that's sustainable. How would you say that the packaging school is incorporating sustainability into their coursework?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, something really super important to me as well. Sustainability is really, woven throughout our curriculum. It's
Mhm.
really a core focus, and I wouldn't consider an add on at all. We actually offer dedicated courses in sustainable packaging in a more in depth, certificate program called the Certificate of Sustainable Packaging, for those that really want to get into the weeds on all things sustainable packaging. So we're actually really excited that, I think it's been maybe 3 years that we have a sustainability expert on staff. So Mitch Webster, shout out to him. He's actively developing, content on extended producer responsibility, which is super critical and timely today in all the states. So people are really excited to read a lot of his articles, and we're incorporating it into our coursework as well. In addition, we do partner as well with Sustainable Packaging Coalition. They're great. I would say they're the flagship, organization nonprofit that helps people understand sustainable packaging. We help them build their knowledge library, which is a really great resource available to members and non-members of SPC. It covers all areas of sustainability, from recycling to food waste, providing really comprehensive insights into how the industry can move responsibly forward.
Mhm. And then something that I've been wondering, just because whenever I entered into the industry, like I had never heard that packaging was really like a career pathway going forward. Again, not until I got into the industry.
Right.
Um, but the students that you guys help, would you say that it's like entry-level students that are just getting into college and looking to pursue packaging as like a career path going forward? Are you also looking at like plant managers, engineers that have like started their careers? Is this more of like a corporate training? Do you guys get a mix? What would you say it's like?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I think to answer it is, really all of the above that you just, mentioned. So our students really come from all stages of their careers, from a lot of rising stars in different companies and organizations. So just starting out in their, professional life, and even CEOs and directors in the packaging industry, our kind of mission or motto is that we believe that continued education should never stop. So no matter where you are in your career, you should keep learning. So I do think our diverse student base really reflects that. We've had a lot of students, moving from marketing sales to a more technical role, that they've been in the industry for 1 or 2 years and saying, hey, I could maybe get a promotion if I take a little bit more, coursework or get some more credentials. And we love to help those folks. Um,
Mhm.
but we definitely see a lot of folks that are currently in the packaging space or packaging adjacent space, such as, industrial engineering, food technology, sales and marketing. And they take our courses to, again, level up and hopefully learn something as well as, use it as a way to leverage it to get a promotion and, keep building their own brand.
This episode of the SNEED-CAST is proudly brought to you by the SNEED Jet Freedom 41. The Freedom 41 features an impressive 4-inch tall stitch printhead enabling clear printing of barcodes, logos, dates, batch codes, lot codes, and other traceability information. With a 300 dpi printing capability, it delivers high-resolution prints. This versatile printer supports both water-based and solvent-based inks, allowing you to print on various materials such as plastic, glass, pipes, metals, boxes, paper, concrete, and more. Experience the freedom of large-scale printing and simplify your printing task with our maintenance-free thermal inkjet technology.
Right. And you talk about these students that are able to, move up in their career pathway or like say in their careers. Are there any students that come to mind? Or
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. And we have a lot of students, but I'll just focus on a couple. So one student, she actually had a background in finance, business, entrepreneurship. She joined our CMPM program, kind of looking to pivot into a career focused more on innovation and sustainability. The program really did help her build new business skills, technical skills, and creative side of packaging. So
Mhm.
now she's actually continuing her journey at the Pratt Institute. She's getting her master's in a program for packaging identities and systems design. And I love this example because she was in the industry, in a totally different industry like finance, New York City. She takes our program and then she decides to get her master's in something that is kind of building on what we taught her. So I thought that was a really cool one. And then another student, kind of more industry to industry based, is that he was working in the automotive packaging space. And I think he was just ready for a change, ready to get out. He took our certificate program and he ended up bringing his packaging development plan to his interview. So, like a really crazy binder of like 80 pages of the work that he did with us. And he talked about how he wanted to move into a more, CPG space, focus on, making chocolate confections, designing packaging for that. And he actually landed the job at Godiva based on this information and based on becoming, a graduate of our CMPM program. So I love to tell that example because it's really cool. Two distinct examples, like moving from being a student to getting higher education, and also moving from two different industries and seeing success there.
Right. And then you guys offer various certificate programs, but we want to highlight two. So what can you tell us about the Certificate of Mastery in Packaging Management and then the Certificate of Sustainable Packaging? What is it that
Yeah.
makes them stand out?
Awesome. No, I'd love to. So I've been kind of talking about a little bit, throughout here. So our certificate of mastery in packaging management, I'll just say CMPM for short because it's a little bit of a mouthful. So it's the program, it's all online interactive program designed to guide professionals, organizational leaders through the process of building, effective, efficient packaging. So over the course of a business quarter, so it's about 12 weeks, students complete 14 on-demand courses, and I help them build a packaging development plan which applies those courses directly to a current project they're doing at work or just something aspirational that they really love and they're interested in. So the program includes 80 hours of course content, and you earn 8 continuing education credits as well. So then that's really applicable to a lot of HR and learning development programs that want students to keep getting those continuing education credits. So really cool about this program, Alexa, is that it's offered in partnership with Clemson University Center for Corporate Learning. So graduates actually receive a certificate like with the iconic Clemson name. So that's really fun. And people, put them up in their offices, which we love to see. We love to get pictures of alumni sending us, their testimonials. So then our newest certificate program is the sustainable packaging one. This is an entirely self-paced program that's focused on, the key sustainable packaging practices, helping professionals stay ahead in the industry. Really, just it's more important now than ever. We focus on materials recycling to life cycle analysis. And a new ad, thanks to Mitch, has been the regulatory frameworks like EPR that we're really focusing on. I would say what sets this program apart from some of the other ones we've seen in this space is that it's super comprehensive. It goes beyond the basics. We focus on talking about carbon credits, offsets, goal setting, and it even includes a full module on life cycle assessment where you can build a project based on using a actual software tool. So again, we're trying to build that application element into all of our courses. So you can help this project in this program helps you analyze packaging decisions through a really awesome sustainability lens. So I think these programs together, they stand out not just for industry relevance, but they really help to blend flexibility, depth, and real world application. So I love these two programs. I would definitely recommend anyone that's looking to level up their packaging game to enroll in them.
And then talking about staying up to date and staying relevant with everything that continues to change, what would you say are some skills or technologies that students should focus on?
Yeah, that's a great question, Alexa. And it's funny because now I am kind of moving into I guess I'm a millennial, and there's tons of younger folks out there that know so much more about technology than I do. So again, keeping up with the times. And my colleague Mitch, he's a little bit younger than me, and he's recently written a lot of blogs on this specific question. So I'll have to send it to you guys so you can put it somewhere in your link for this podcast. But to kind of quickly summarize his points, he really wants engineers and young professionals to focus on sustainability aspects. It's really important to understand how the eco-modulated fees work, how EPR works, how LCA works. Those are super critical, especially in the regulatory space. Staying compliant on these will cost your company tons of money if you're not following through. Another one that is a little bit less technical. I don't feel that AI is replacing packaging professionals anyway. I do think it's empowering them. I think it's helping them, helping us move quicker, helping us with ideation, mockups, and workflow efficiency. So knowing how to use AI tools effectively is really, really crucial as well. And on our website under lessons, Mitch writes some really great blogs on, using AI packaging design tools. One of them specifically is called Pacdora, which it's really user friendly, super, awesome to be able to use. It's great for people that are not as, literate at, say Adobe Illustrator or, Artios CAD. It's super helpful to kind of help level up that. So I would say those are the two main ones, Alexa, but I know, as we continue to evolve, I'm sure that there's going to be more skills that come across. So hopefully we'll keep writing blogs on them and keeping you guys up to date.
So yeah, I'm glad to hear that AI isn't just affecting marketing. I feel like that's a huge misconception. It's
Yeah.
touching every type of industry out there, but okay. Um, what would you say are some aspects of sustainability that are actually here to stay?
Yeah, no, that's a great question too. And I've spoken a lot with Mitch and my team, and also the folks at Sustainable Packaging Coalition. I actually just recently attended their event in Seattle, and that was really awesome to see because oftentimes when you go to in-person events, there you see a lot of waste circling around. Like you don't see great recyclable bins. You don't see food that has been sourced sustainably. They did a really great job at this. Even part of um, your ticket to get to the event, they offset it with carbon credits, so that was really awesome to see. Just a side note there, but I do think along those lines, talking with the folks at SBC, I think some real innovations in this space. I think paper and molded fiber solutions are really here to stay. When they're designed with coatings that can be compostable, recyclable, water-based, mineral barriers, it really does offer a great circularity potential. So, one of the most exciting developments in this paperization movement is the growing range of paper-based alternatives to traditional plastic-based formats. So, again, talking with my friends at SBC, I know Olga, the director, she writes really great articles on this topic. Increasing that 100% fiber-based versions of packaging formats, such as like pouches, candy bar wrappers, blister packs that you've traditionally only seen in the plastic format. Now we're offering different solutions for that. I think that is here to stay and we'll keep growing. Another one that's kind of back to my chemistry roots is that, I think multi-layer films are a little bit under the spotlight lately, especially, moving towards monomaterials, hoping to make, flexible packaging more compatible with the, current existing recycling systems. This does require some advanced material science, but it is really gaining traction in a lot of larger companies like, Berry Global and Nestle. And I have to say a little small caveat, while all these innovations are super promising, performance, cost, and infrastructure will always determine, how these are adopted. And there's always trade-offs to all of these things too. But I do think those two things are definitely, here to stay and going to keep growing into 2025 and 2030.
Right. And then in your opinion, what do you think is currently overhyped in the industry?
Yeah, yeah. So, I think for this one, I think, oh man, that's that's a good question. So specifically in packaging design, I know we've been
Mhm.
talking a lot about AI, and I think it's an exciting trend. I do think that is really exciting, to be honest. I know I've taken a while to warm up to it, but I think it does help you get up to speed with ideation and innovative concepts.
Mhm.
um, I do think that, smart packaging and, transparency like QR codes to help with recycling and freshness indicators is, really exciting in that space. Um, I think on the flip side though, Alexa, for some things that are a little bit overhyped is that, like flashy designs that are a little bit impractical, that don't consider the end of life, concepts and impacts. So, packaging that sacrifices function for, a cool aesthetic look, I don't think that is cool, and I think it's super overhyped. So I think
Right.
that in the future, especially with the EPR laws coming up, we're gonna have to move backwards on that a little bit as far as like those flashy designs. It's gonna have to be simple, with clear direction for recycling and, for end of life.
And then moving away from the trends, what would you say are some soft skills or some cross-disciplinary strengths that can help students succeed in this field?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, coming from a liberal arts background, I think that they did really focus on a lot of these things. And, from my corner of the packaging world, I think, soft skills and these type of strengths, really do help move the needle, as far as, I think communication, organization, project management are super important. As you guys know, packaging is super highly collaborative. So, being able to clearly communicate with technical and non-technical teams, staying organized through complex timelines, managing moving parts across design, sourcing, compliance is super key. So, also, system thinking, being able to adapt to that. And really just genuine curiosity to keep learning. Like we said before, I think being a lifelong learner is super important. Something that my dad definitely instilled in me. He, continues to read every day, different books. He always tells me like, make sure you stay on top of the trends, make sure you keep your mind, moving. So I think, that's super important. And, I think like we said, I think AI is here to stay. So I think what, we need to just develop a genuine curiosity for that as well to stay, relevant and, impactful in the industry.
Right. And then, Julie, you've obviously seen the industry change so much over the last 10 years. How do you think that packaging is going to respond to environmental pressures over the next 10 years?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And I actually just did a webinar, with our partners at NACD, which is the National Association of Container Distributors. And we were
Mhm.
kind of talking along these same lines of it was, focused on sustainability redesign. So companies that are, changing their packaging based on these pressures. So I do think that it's super relevant in today's age. Over the next decade, packaging will continue to evolve rapidly with mounting pressures with EPR, eco-modulation playing really, really huge central roles. I think as governments, implement more EPR laws, brands are really going to be held accountable for their entire life cycle of their packaging, financially and operationally. So hopefully this will drive, smarter, more sustainable design, decisions, from the jump. I think, eco-modulation, and we do have some really great blogs on this from Mitch again. It will help incentivize companies to shift towards more recyclable products, lower impact materials like we talked about, by reducing fees for environmentally preferable packaging. So beyond regulation, I think we'll definitely still see some, um, use of LCA tools. I think the growing demand for transparency is super important. And, our partners at SBC do a really great job showcasing this, let's be really clear that we're not greenwashing our, our clients and our customers. Let's tell them what we're doing and, why we're doing it. So I think the future of packaging will be, about probably more about proving impact and proving these results and what's trendy, kind of what I, was talking about earlier about how I think those flashy designs are kind of going to the wayside. And I think that's true. I think, they definitely have to focus on these new regulations coming about that are probably here to stay.
Right. Well, thank you so much for all of the information, Julie. Again, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show. And then for any of our viewers out there, I know that if they want to learn more, they can go over to thepackagingschool.com. But what other great resources would you recommend?
So as far as, finding more information, definitely ps.com, looking at our blog, and there's tons of, free courses, free lessons that are available to you guys, along with our certificate programs if you're looking to invest some time and effort into, really leveling up your packaging game. I know I mentioned SBC a lot, but I think they're a great organization that will really help you learn about all aspects of sustainability. I think that's a great resource as well. The founder of Packaging School, Dr. Hurley, he writes a lot of articles in Packaging World, Packaging Digest. He's, always so great to hear from and really kind of hear his voice. I would definitely look for those. And, we have some really great, partnerships with some corrugated entities, AICC and ICPF. They do a great job helping, people learn about packaging in the corrugated space, telling people at a young age that packaging is cool. I love that. I didn't know about that when I went to college, and I wish I would have. Could have saved me a lot of time in painful organic chemistry. So the trouble. So yeah, I think those are some great resources. Again, staying on top of the times in LinkedIn is always helpful. Joining a lot of groups there is good too.
Well, thank you so much, Julie.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.